Hi, Allison. My name is Ellen, and I'll be correcting these essays for you. Let's take a look at what you've written here. Okay, so most parents have different expectations of schools, such as teaching methods. I believe that it should be necessary for teachers to grab students' attention by entertaining them in classes to achieve the course objectives. This essay will discuss both opinions and use examples from elementary education and compulsory education in Taiwan to demonstrate my viewpoints and prove arguments. Okay, so let's talk about this. Grammatically, this was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. It was accurate, so great. Where for me it came into some problems, they basically revolve around task achievement. So let's talk about this. Here you wrote, and coherence and cohesion, I should add. Most parents have different expectations of schools, such as teaching methods. So what are you saying? That an example of a school is a teaching method? That doesn't make sense. Okay, so what you could have said is most parents have different expectations of schools, particularly with regard to teaching methods. That would make more sense. Okay? However, this sentence, even though we've corrected it, doesn't really link into the next sentence very well. All right? And then here you're talking about your thesis. You're saying, I believe it should be necessary, etc., etc. And then here you're going to talk to us about both opinions. But we don't know what both opinions are. We only know what your opinion is here. We don't know what the second opinion is here because there is no opinion presented in the first sentence. You just told us that they have different expectations. You see what I'm saying? So on their own, each one of these sentences is lovely, but put together, they don't make a cohesive paragraph. Okay? And they're not really leading us from the introduction of the topic to your thesis. So let's talk about how maybe you could have done this differently. Most parents believe that children should be educated in schools by purely academic methods. I believe that it should be necessary for teachers to grab students' attention by entertaining them in class to achieve the course objectives. This essay will discuss both opinions. All right, that makes sense. But even if you do it like this, you run into a problem. Why? Because the essay has asked you, which do you agree with? Okay? So if you're going to discuss both opinions, the only reason why that would make sense is if you're going to talk about why you don't like that first opinion. What's wrong with it? So, because you're supposed to talk about the side that you support here. So it makes sense only if you say, I don't agree with this academic only teaching. I think it's bad for A, B, C reason. Okay? That's how you want to do it. But let's not discuss that too much now. Let's actually see what you wrote. Firstly, it is helpful for students to learn knowledge in a chill environment at school. This is largely because students can perform better at learning subjects if teachers can educate them through entertainment. For example, elementary students are taught mathematics by playing board games or poker games. Therefore, not only will students enjoy their learning at school, but also parents will be satisfied with the teaching quality. Okay, so this for me was fine, again, in terms of grammar and vocabulary for the most part. We'll fix little things. But where it lacks for me is some of the task achievement. First of all, you never want to use this expression in an IELTS essay. Chill environment is super casual. It's super spoken and definitely not appropriate for this kind of an essay. Now, that doesn't mean that IELTS is a purely academic essay. I'm not implying that. However, you do want to use language that is a little more appropriate to this task. So, it is helpful for students to learn in a relaxed environment, okay, which can be achieved if teachers educate them through entertainment, okay? That makes a little more sense. Then, not this is largely because, that doesn't really make sense. You understand? So what you're trying to say is this can be achieved if entertaining methods are used. And then you could say, make some sort of a comparison. So, for example, when elementary students are taught mathematics by playing poker game or board games, they retain information 40% better than students who merely learn through math textbooks. All right, again, this makes it feel more connected to everything you're saying. Okay? Additionally, parents found doing homework with their children 60% more, 60% easier when games were used in the lessons. Therefore, not only do students enjoy learning at school, but parents are also satisfied with the teaching quality. Okay, so do you understand why I put that thing about the parents? Because you mentioned them here. It didn't fit anywhere else, not the way you wrote it. It was just like kind of thrown in there. And so that's why I added this sentence about parents and doing homework with the kids, because this way you link everything together, okay? I hope that's making sense, Allison. Okay, now look at this. I see here you're saying it is widely believed the sole purpose of schools is education. This doesn't really work because you have a firstly and you have a secondly. And now all of a sudden you're going to the opposite argument. You're saying, oh, education, academics, that's it. So this really should be some sort of an expression that shows contrast. So one that I know a lot of students like is on the one hand, on the other hand. So maybe that would have been done here. Here you could have said on the one hand, and then here you could have said on the other hand, it is widely believed that the sole purpose of schools is education. For decades, people have gone to school to learn knowledge and skills to prepare to pursue a further degree or enter the job market. For instance, in Taiwan, compulsory education requires children to be enrolled in and attend an education provider such as a school for no less than 12 years. Hence, people can contribute to a thriving society by equipping themselves with school knowledge and skills. Okay, again, I feel, Allison, that this is not really developed. You haven't answered the question. So great, they're in school for 12 years. Okay, well, why can't that school be an entertaining school? All right. Learning knowledge and skills. Great. Well, here you already told me that we're learning skills better when we use games. So I don't really understand what you're telling me in this paragraph. Furthermore, it doesn't link to anything. It doesn't make sense because here you already told me that you think education, entertainment is so important. All right. Yeah, you told me you're going to discuss both opinions. But I really don't understand why this paragraph is here the way it's here. So what you need to do, all right, this is really important since it's your first set of essays, is making sure that your message is clear throughout. Are you telling me that you believe there is some value to this academic only kind of education? If that's the case, then you need to reshift the way you've written this. So here, I believe that it should be necessary for teachers to grab students' attention by entertaining them in classes. Although I understand why traditionally academic only classes have been favored. Okay, that makes sense. You're telling us in your introduction, look, yeah, I'm going to tell you about why this entertainment stuff is great, but I'm also going to tell you about why I think, academic learning only is important. So that now makes sense, and we're expecting it here. So when this comes up, we're expecting it. Okay? Now, that being said, I still think you needed to do more here. So, not is widely believed. We don't care what is believed. We want to know your opinion. This essay, if you look again at the task, does not ask for the opinion of others. It's asking for your opinion. So, what could you have said? Secondly, there is, okay. Therefore, secondly, it is valid to believe the sole purpose of education is the sole purpose of school is education. So when you say it like that, it is valid to believe. You're showing us that it's your opinion on this. Okay? But here, I still think you needed to say why this academic only focus is valid and why you think it should continue. So this is what you needed to put in here, and that was missing for me. All right, so let's look at your conclusion. To conclude from the arguments and the examples and arguments given, I firmly agree that schools have to be more entertaining. Meanwhile, the sole purpose of schools is what? No, that doesn't make sense. I firmly agree that schools have to be more entertaining, even though the sole purpose of them is education. It is predicted that the edutainment method will become mainstream during the post-COVID era, which is organized in a way that educates and entertains students simultaneously. Okay. I would have preferred that you didn't introduce a new vocabulary term here. So maybe you could have just said, it is predicted that the edutainment method will become mainstream during the post-COVID era to educate and entertain students simultaneously. Done. Okay? I would have felt better about that. All right, so it's a good first attempt, but it does still have some errors that I need you to look at, all right? All right, so let's take a look at your second task 2, doing an enjoyable activity with a child. Let's see what you wrote. It is well known that early positive and supportive interactions with children have a long-lasting ripple effect on development across the life course. I believe that play is one of the most important ways in which young children gain essential knowledge and skills and develop their creativity, while reading can also play an important role as well. This essay will discuss both effects of adorable activities and reading on children's '(S) here development, and use examples to elaborate my viewpoints and prove arguments. Okay, so you're basically telling me, if I understand correctly, that you think play is more important, but reading is important as well. That's what I understood, okay? Now you can see I have to kind of just double check, because it's very important that I understand what your position is. I want you to be careful about this repeated use of important. You wrote here in one sentence, is one of the most important ways, while reading can play an important role as well. It's not a huge deal, but you do want to be careful about that. Maybe you could have used a different word. So I believe that play is one of the most important ways in which young children gain essential knowledge and skills and develop their creativity, while reading can also play a critical role. You could have said that too. But again, for me, what's really important is that I understand what it is you're saying. In other words, it sounds like you lean 60% towards activities and 40% towards reading. But that's what I'm going to check now in your body paragraph. So let's see what you said. Firstly, there is no doubt that play is for everyone and everywhere, especially for children. Researchers have demonstrated playful experiences offer a unique context for children to communicate ideas, try out possibilities, feel enjoyable, and understand others through interactions. For example, sand play is a fantastic opportunity for children through scooping, digging, and pouring. They know how things work and connect with people by sharing. Therefore, learning through play in early childhood is promoting deeper learning and a breadth of skills such as sociability or creativity. Okay, well, you showed me they know how things work and connect with people. I understand that those skills are being developed, but you haven't really proven to me anything about creativity. So I'm a little concerned about that, but let's continue. Secondly, there are multiple benefits that reading can have on a child's development, including gaining deeper understanding of the world, developing empathy, and higher levels of creativity and imagination. This is largely because reading a book relies on us using our imagination for picturing characters and curiosity about what's coming next, I think is what's missing here. About. For instance, A Tale of Peter Rabbit, which is one of the best-selling children's books of all time, combines humor and adventure. Hence, reading can become a tool um, for the participation and the intellectual fulfillment of the child. Okay. To conclusion, examples and arguments given, careful with your spelling here, I firmly agree that during childhood, so here you needed an N and here you didn't want the, just during childhood, the stimulation and learning that come from play and reading in quality settings are essential. It is predicted that children can grow up better when they grow up, learn, and play together. Okay, so let me tell you some information about this, Allison. I thought that your grammar and your vocabulary were fantastic. I thought they were really, really very good. There were some minor mistakes, but it flowed really well. It was fluently written. I really liked it. Okay. Um, any concerns that I have are essentially about task achievement. Like I said, I wasn't really super clear with what you were telling us here. Like I said, I wasn't sure if you were more in favor of one or you kind of like felt that you equally supported them. I wasn't entirely clear. And remember that that is what they're asking here. To what extent? So if I don't know and if I can't gauge that, then you want to work on that a little bit to make it absolutely clear where you stand. Now, if you wanted to say that you were a little more in favor of one than the other, there are a lot of different ways to do it. You could say, uh, let's see. Oh, okay. So you could say this. While reading can play an important role, on the whole, I believe play is more important for children. In order to gain essential knowledge and skills. Okay, so just really kind of make it absolutely clear where you stand on it. Because, like I said, it was kind of so so for me, all right, about where you really stood. Okay, now remember that this is about skills and creativity. Okay, here you mentioned creativity, but you didn't really get into any detail about it. And I think you really had a missed opportunity. Okay, what could you have done here? You could have done a lot of stuff, really. I mean, you could have continued with that idea of sand play. So, for example, sand play is a fantastic opportunity for children to build and use their creativity to construct different sand buildings through scooping, digging, and pouring. Okay, so something like that, but definitely mention this and develop this idea about creativity because the people at IELTS really went out of their way to make sure that you understood it was important. You see, it says you can develop better skills and creativity. If they weren't concerned so much about creativity, they would not have written it like this. So, skills and creativity, equally important here. So, talking about one without talking about the other is really a missed opportunity for you to get some in order to develop this fully and develop all sides of the argument. Now, I do like that you talked about enjoyable activities and reading. That was good because you are supposed to do some of that as well. I don't love that you had a firstly and secondly here. I think that more appropriate would have been something that showed contrast. So the easiest one for most students is using on the one hand, on the other hand. But of course, that's not the only thing you needed to do. You could have started off straight away with a there is no doubt, etc., etc. And then you could have said something like, that being said, there are multiple benefits that reading can have on a child's development. All right, so showing some sort of contrast in the beginning of that paragraph because these were really essentially kind of put forth as two opposites. All right, so using this firstly and secondly didn't feel 100% right. Okay, what else? But yeah, great vocabulary, great language. It was all really nice. That's pretty much it. Now, I don't know how long it took you to write this essay. You know that you should be writing in under 40 minutes. I want to talk to you a little bit about, before we end, your introduction. It was lovely. You had some really nice vocabulary there, like ripple effect and long lasting. And so all that is really good. But make sure that your body paragraphs are actually more developed than your introduction is. You're not really helping yourself by writing a really long introduction. Um, your introduction essentially has a couple of things to do. It has to rephrase the topic, present your position, and then you're done. Okay, so this felt to me kind of long-ish, not really long. I'm just pointing it out to you so that you know for future essays. But don't waste too much time on developing a long, drawn-out introduction. Use that time instead wisely by developing your body paragraphs. That's where you're going to end up doing more in terms of getting a good task achievement score. All right, so that's the end of this correction. I hope you found it helpful. What I need you to do now is correct these essays and send them back to us. With your corrected essays, send us a new set of essays. And don't forget to begin your error correction list, okay? So we'll meet back here with your next set, hopefully in the next couple of days, and I'll be looking forward to it. So good luck.